Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got a breaking news report coming out from Russia, and I've got some information today that Russian President Vladimir Putin appears to not be very happy with what happened over the weekend when Ukraine carried out that massive attack on airfields with Operation Spider's Web using FPV drones to destroy Russian strategic bombers. So take a look at your screen here. Putin tells Trump he will have to respond to Ukraine's airfield strikes. President Trump said on Wednesday that he spoke over the phone with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who said that Russia would have to respond to a recent Ukrainian attack on Russian warplanes. Okay, so I thought this was interesting. Why does Putin not come out and say this himself? Why does he use Trump to relay this message over to Ukraine? But apparently, that's the way it went down today, as Donald Trump put a post out on True Social talking about this. So we're going to be discussing all these details today. I also have some information coming out from the Kremlin, from other top officials that were talking about what happened over the weekend and what they want to do to respond to this. So let's go ahead and jump on over here real quick to X. I've got a few things to share with you here. This is from Bliskovka. Putin said, and very strongly, that he would have to respond to the recent attack on the airfields, Trump said after a 75-minute conversation with the Kremlin leader. We discussed Ukraine's attack on parked Russian planes, as well as various other attacks occurring on both sides. It was a good conversation, but not one that will lead to immediate peace, the U.S. president writes. So here's a statement from Trump on True Social today. I just finished speaking by telephone with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. The call lasted approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes. We discussed the attack on Russia's docked airplanes by Ukraine and also various other attacks that have been taking place by both sides. It was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. We also discussed Iran and the fact that time is running out on Iran's decision pertaining to nuclear weapons, which must be made quickly. I stated to President Putin that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and on this, I believe that we are in agreement. President Putin suggested that he will participate in the discussions with Iran and that he could perhaps be helpful in getting this brought to a rapid conclusion. It is my opinion that Iran has been slow walking their decision on this very important matter and will need a definitive answer in a very short period of time. Okay, so you can see Trump talking a lot about this nuclear deal right now. Last I heard on that, the U.S. presented a nuclear deal over to Iran, and I'm hearing as of today that possibly Iran might not accept this deal. So we'll have to see how that goes. That's a topic for a completely different subject on another video for a different time. But regarding President Putin here stating that he's going to attack Ukraine, they're going to respond in some sort of way. We're going to have to see what's going to happen here. I would think that that Putin would want to respond in kind, similar to what Ukraine did. Now, I'm not sure if they can carry out that same type of operation, but maybe they're going to try to do something to go after airfields inside of Ukraine. Maybe that's what the plan is going to be here. So let's move on to another update now from Slava. Ukrainians, get ready. Retribution for airfields awaits you. We will definitely blow up everything that needs to be blown up, Dmitry Medvedev stated. So this was apparently a statement coming out from Dmitry Medvedev also. He's the deputy head of the National Security Council out of the Kremlin, and we know how he speaks, okay? He speaks very aggressively, and he stated that he wants to blow everything up inside of Ukraine and respond to these airfields being attacked. So that was a statement coming from Dmitry Medvedev recently. Now for Mario Nawfal. Russia's warning all options on the table after bomber attacks. Ukraine just hit deep, targeting Russian nuclear-capable bombers and blowing up key bridges. Moscow is not happy. Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said, "We urge London and Washington to react in such a way as to stop further escalation. All options are on the table." Source is Reuters. So, interesting statement coming from Sergei Ryabkov today. And I showed you guys this report earlier this morning with our update video for the Russia-Ukraine war. He did state this today. So it makes you wonder, when they say all options are on the table, what could they possibly do? I mean, it kind of makes me think about nuclear weapons, and I would hope that would never be the case. But you never know what the Russians are planning to do here. They could definitely launch a nuclear strike over there. I think it's highly unlikely, but who really knows what's going to happen in this war? I mean, things have been escalating very quickly recently, and I guess anything is really possible. But that was stated by Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov today. Now for Max 25, Yuri Ushakov says Putin told Trump about Kiev's attempts to disrupt Russian-Ukrainian talks and targeted attacks on civilian targets. Trump confirmed to Putin that the U.S. was unaware of Kiev's plans to strike Russian airfields. Okay, so Yuri Ushakov is a foreign policy aide to Vladimir Putin, and he's stating that Putin said to Trump that Ukraine's attempts to disrupt Russian-Ukrainian talks and targeted attacks on civilian targets is a thing right now. That Ukraine's doing everything they can to disrupt these talks. So that's possibly indicating that is Russia going to pull out from these talks at some point? I mean, they've been blaming Ukraine of trying to sabotage these talks for a while now, for like over a week. So we'll see what happens with that. But aside from that, he's also stating that apparently during this phone call, Trump also confirmed that the U.S. had no idea of these plans that Ukraine was going to carry out to strike these airfields. We heard that story coming out just a few hours after the attacks happened on Sunday, okay? So that was just an update there from Yuri Ushakov. Now from Ozen Defender, the U.S. State Department issued a notice via the U.S. Embassy in Kiev in Ukraine urging U.S. citizens in the country to exercise necessary precautions due to the heightened tempo of Russian strikes in the past few weeks. So security alert being announced inside of Ukraine for any U.S. citizens, and I guess this goes for pretty much any citizen in Ukraine. If they're having to issue these alerts, most likely something could go down here. We're probably going to see some sort of massive missile attack coming from the Russians, but I'm very curious to see what they're going to go after. What are they going to target other than something they haven't targeted already? For example, like power substations, thermal power plants, things like that. We're going to see just another massive missile attack onto Kiev again. Who knows what's really going to happen here, but apparently a security alert has been issued out of Kiev. So now for Max 7, Putin has rejected Ukraine's offer of a summit with Zelensky and an immediate ceasefire. This is his first time addressing the major Ukrainian strikes last weekend and a marked rhetorical escalation. Who has negotiations with terrorists, he said. Okay, I showed you guys a clip of this earlier this morning with our update video for the Russia-Ukraine war, and Putin was coming out basically saying, why would they negotiate with Volodymyr Zelensky? That basically this Ukrainian-Russian summit, between Putin and Zelensky that's supposed to be held soon is most likely not going to happen. So it looks like negotiations are off again between Putin and Zelensky directly, but he's also calling Ukraine terrorists, stating that they've carried out terrorist acts inside their country, going after these airfields and whatnot. Now we also had the Crimean Bridge being attacked, and then today, Ukraine carrying out that cyber attack onto a major company inside of Russia that produces these strategic bombers, the same ones that were attacked on Sunday. So Putin clearly not happy here. And again, I think something is going to happen very soon, and Russia is going to respond to these strikes. So just a statement from Putin today. Now for Max 25, Putin says he doubts the possibility of a summit with Ukraine and a ceasefire amid latest attacks. Lavrov accused Ukraine of provocations aimed at disrupting negotiations, and according to Medinsky, prisoner exchange will take place in a 1200 for 1200 format. So these were all the other Kremlin officials that were here attending this meeting as well with Putin today. These were just some of the other statements coming out. We got Sergei Lavrov down here accusing Ukraine of provocations, trying to disrupt these negotiations. And then we've got Vladimir Medinsky here. He was the head of the delegation that's met in Istanbul for the last 2 times to meet with Ukraine and discuss peace negotiations. So he's claiming that apparently they're going to be holding a prisoner exchange soon at 1200 for 1200 swap on both sides. So there's some other statements coming out for this meeting today. And finally, I want to show you this one last update here from Max 25. And he says, LOL, Trump posted it again, nothing changed. Okay, so what he's responding to is another post that he put out earlier. And about maybe an hour or so before this post, he said Trump deletes posts he made about conversation with Putin. So I'm hearing that Trump allegedly removed his post on Truth Social, talking about this whole conversation with Putin, holding the phone call and whatnot, and Putin saying that he's going to respond to the attacks on the airfields. And then apparently a little bit later, maybe 15, 20 minutes later, Trump put the same statement back up again. So I'm not sure why that was. Why would he remove it and then put it back on? But from what I understand, it was put back up again for people to see, and it only lasted for maybe a few minutes. He took it down and then he put it back up again, okay? So I thought that was kind of strange, but just wanted to let you know about that Trump did do that earlier, but it looks like he did repost the same subject again, okay? So just want to give you guys some updates coming out from this situation over here, and expect the Russians to respond very soon and to launch some sort of massive attack onto Ukraine. We'll see what's going to happen here, and I'm sure Ukraine is expecting it and ready for this to go down here very soon. So let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. With that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.